is ending the war on protein. Are you confused? Good. You probably should be. RFK just dropped a new food pyramid, and this time, meat is at the top. And if you care about climate change, this is not good. Basically, what you need to know is that he's indicating that meat is really important to incorporate into the American diet. This would make sense if Americans were in some sort of protein deficit, but it's quite the opposite.
3, 2, 1.
Gatorade Zero with protein.
This Snickers high protein bar.
I'm Cassidy. I'm an American who loves food, but I don't buy that the US food system is the best that we can do. So come along with me as I seek to figure out what's normal, what's not, and what we might be missing out on. Take a look at this wheel. This is the Basic 7. It's the very first set of food recommendations given to Americans by the government back in the 1940s. Over time, these food recommendations have evolved as we've phased out things like entire categories dedicated to butter, and we've seen many different shapes. There have been flowcharts, there have been circles, there have been triangles, and now we have this upside down thing. But here's the reason why RFK wanted to rebrand.
We've had years, we have decades of good science now that says protein is important. It is absolutely critical. And today about 50% of the calories that are consumed by children in this country are ultra-processed foods. That's not good. That comes from 40 years of bad advice by the American Heart Association, the American Medical Association, and other associations that put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid.
But I'd like to point out that this pyramid that he's referring to was a normal triangle. So when Fruit Loops were at the top, that meant that Americans were recommended to limit their intake of foods like this. It wasn't like the pyramid that he has now where it means the opposite. I'd also like to add, we've been using MyPlate since 2011, and I'm not really sure what rock RFK's been living under ever since, because these haven't been the guidelines that we've been living with. But anyways, we're taking a step back and asking ourselves why the government gave Americans food recommendations in the first place. Because back in the 1940s, America was in the midst of a war.
American food is being used to defeat the Axis and shorten the war.
And so with food rations, it was actually really important for American families to make sure that they were getting enough nutrients.
The average English family has learned the value of food through years of wartime scarcity. To teach the simple facts of good eating, public nutrition classes have been set up in churches, schools, and factories.
But after the war finished, these guidelines still stuck around. And as much as I'd love to believe that they did this for the health of the American people, there's actually another reason why these guidelines stuck around, and it's the same reason that throughout my childhood I was told to drink lots of milk, eat lots of cheese, and now I'm being told to eat more meat. And it's all thanks to commodity markets. A commodity market just describes the trading of raw materials. So this isn't processed things, but it's raw goods like wheat, corn, gold, oil, and so on. And a lot of these commodities are subsidized, meaning that the government gives farmers a little bit of help as an incentive to grow these staple foods. And subsidies matter a lot because they not only protect our hardworking farmers from things like inclement weather and market volatility, but it also is a matter of national security, so you and I both have food to eat. When the government tells farmers to grow a lot of food, they need a lot of people to buy a lot of those foods. And that's where things get a little spicy. Because when it comes to commodities, entire industries form around making sure that these products are bought and sold. And they'll pour millions of dollars of lobbying money into the government to make sure that it stays that way. And it's funny because when RFK put together this panel to make this new food pyramid, he said that he was going to weed out anyone who had a conflict of interest. But after doing a little bit of digging, I found that he didn't do this at all. This New York Times article says that 5 of the 10 current scientific experts who were involved in making this new food pyramid disclose recent financial relationships with beef, dairy, or pork industries. So basically, when you buy more meat and dairy products, that money is going into their pocket. Even though it might seem like a food pyramid isn't that big of a deal, these guidelines influence what millions eat at school, in hospitals, and in federal programs. What frustrates me the most isn't just health or animal welfare. It's the fact that the amount of meat that we intake is one of the most practical ways for individuals to address their climate impact. And so when the government pushes heavier meat consumption, it limits people's ability to make that climate choice for themselves. Meat has such a high carbon footprint because of all of the resources that it takes to produce that meat. And most of it comes from their feed. You see, we cause deforestation to make more land to grow more soy and alfalfa for all of these animals. I've seen people argue that soy has a terrible climate impact too.
Stupid vegans are cutting down our rainforest to make stupid tofu. It's often said, but it's not true. Soy, which tofu is made from, is a driver of deforestation. But only 7% of soy is grown for things like soy milk, tofu. Most soy, 76%, is grown for animal feed.
And we have to dump millions of gallons of our freshwater resources into growing these products to feed the animals that we are going to eat. And on top of that, animals like cows burp methane, which is way more powerful than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. All of that put together makes meat the most carbon-intensive food that we eat. I want to be transparent and let you all know that I'm coming from a background where, as a kid, some of my favorite foods were venison tenderloin and beef stew and literally anything covered in Famous Dave's barbecue sauce. I care deeply about the environment, but honestly, it's hard to say that I can just give up my car and all plastics in this modern day and age. Honestly, it was only after taking this water footprint calculator quiz by Foodprint that I decided to incorporate more plant-based proteins into my diet. Reducing my personal meat intake is how I choose to have a say in the climate movement. And if you want to join the fight against climate change too, incorporating a few more plant-based proteins in your diet like edamame, chickpeas, tofu, tempeh, seitan, etc. is a great place for you to start. You don't have to go cold turkey, just try going halvesies every once in a while, or even try a meatless Monday. The food industry likes to put a lot of blame on us individual consumers for all of the problems affiliated with the food system. But I hope that you see after this video that it's actually the American food system that needs to be held accountable for all of these problems. To help spread the news on who's really benefiting from this new food pyramid, make sure to share this video with your network and subscribe for more content like this.